Hey, what's up, peeps? It's Owl Nimbus here for the last night of the Majigen, another podcast, and we're gonna go ahead and get started.
We are unable to continue the broadcast from Groversville. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission.
Blam. All right, so I'm here with the one and only Manny from Manny Gaming. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Just chilling. Just catching a vibe on this delightful evening.
Yeah, it feels good now that
Yeah.
fall is almost around. Are you a fall guy?
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, I'll be honest, just because the weather is getting a little bit cooler, so it's more of an inside weather.
Yeah,
I'm an inside type of guy, so like since it's getting cooler, more reason for me to stay inside. So it just makes me a little, it gives me my comfort. It gives me, it just gives me the vibes. So
yeah. I don't like sleeping in hot weather. It's the worst.
it's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I, I like it when it's fall because then I'm not really like a pumpkin spice kind of guy. I mean, but I get it. But I just like the vibe of fall,
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Just
Halloween, the trick-or-treating.
the,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Especially the trick or treating. And, I don't know if you ever catch those, like the marathons on TV of just all those horror movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if yeah, like they'll always do your typical what is it, Halloween, Friday the 13th, but every now and then they'll sneak in like a man, what's one like the Purge, or they'll sneak in like a more recent horror movie just to keep it fresh. So I like those times of the year.
Yeah. I really like those old Halloween. Usually around when COVID happened, that was probably like one of the creepiest Halloweens that I ever remember. Is
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was there was no trick-or-treaters on the street. And I was watching a lot of horror movies that I never watched. So I was watching like the black and white Night of the Living Dead. I was
Yeah.
watching really, really old school stuff from like the 50s, like the day the Earth stood still.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was watching that. Also, John Carpenter's The Thing. Like, I
Yeah.
never saw The Thing, and The Thing is so good.
Oh
I love The
yeah.
Thing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
but it was during when COVID was happening, so there's no one on the street. I had like a giant bowl of candy, but there was just no one on the lookout outside the neighborhood. It's just dead quiet, super cold outside. It was a definitely a different type of Halloween, that's for sure.
Yeah, one thing I can share with you on that is I think during that time it was just eerily just dead quiet in those streets. And the neighborhood, I'll tell you this much, it just gave me those, like it actually gave me like a scary movie vibe, just
Oh
because
yeah.
like it just because of what you're saying, because no one was on the streets, dead silence, and nobody wanted to be out. And and I don't think I celebrated Halloween that year, but I can remember those nights during COVID time. Dude, I was just like, you know what? I gotta make sure I make it home. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that was
you,
that was great though. I kind of do miss that type of like isolated vibe because when I was really watching horror movies, I never really got into even like horror video games. I never really gave like the original Silent Hill a shot until like I have a PSP, but I ended up getting
yeah.
it modded, and some guy from New Jersey, he gave me it modded, but he had like all the I just told him just PS1 library games, and then Silent Hill was on there, so I played the OG one.
Oh
I
wow.
have no idea how people figured that game out, like without the internet or a strategy guide. I have no idea.
See, yeah, because I remember that game actually, and my bigger brother, he actually rented that game a couple of times, and he couldn't even figure it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like back in those days, man, yikes, man, before the internet just blew up, yikes, man. Like you heavily depended on all those strategy guides, man, to get you through. There
Hmm.
was no other way for it. Maybe word of mouth, if you knew some friends that shared the game, But other than that, you were on your own.
Yeah, and
You were
that's if they played the game.
that exactly. That's
Yeah,
if they played the game. So
and
it was pretty wild just to experience that. I don't know, man. I miss it, but at the same time, I don't miss it. Like it's just like I don't know, man.
I miss the mystery of it. I mean, back then,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if you beat a game back then, the ending, no one knew what the ending was. You could never ever YouTube the ending.
yeah.
So it's just like word of mouth on what happens.
Right, right, right.
And if people played a lot of horror games, especially back then,
Yeah,
the ending wasn't always the same. Sometimes it'd be a good ending, a bad ending, and back
right.
then you never knew what triggered certain endings like that.
Yeah, yeah. And so like you said, it's just those things that you really don't pay attention never paid attention to. It was just like, okay, this is how you see the game, no one else.
Yeah.
And so you just yeah, you were just on your own and okay, it was pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so you played the original Silent Hill. Did you ever get to part two?
No, because it's like it's a hard game to find now.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
these games are hella hard to find. Man, and to be honest, we actually purchased the second one on PS2,
Okay.
and we finished it. I can't remember what ending we got. We never replayed it back. I kind of wish we did,
Yeah.
but it was one of those games that it was good for the moment. I think we did like the game, but we just I guess maybe we weren't too hardcore invested in it like most people are now. So we traded it in. We traded that bad boy in so quick. We didn't. I'll take it back. We did trade it in, but not as quick as I remember. But it's one of those games now. The more I think about it, because of the resale value, I
Hmm.
wish I would have kept. I really wish I
Yeah.
would have kept.
Yeah, they're mad expensive now.
Yeah,
I and I did play Silent Hill 2, but like all horror games, especially Silent Hill games, they're just
yeah,
really confusing and hard to really get past certain things, and then some things just don't make sense at all.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's the reason why I gravitate toward a little bit more towards Resident Evil,
yeah.
because there's no psychological element to it
Right, right,
to
right.
where it's confusing. It's just like you're Jill or you're Chris Redfield, you get
Yeah,
thrown in a mansion and the premise is you're just lost and you survive there because you're trapped there. That's like the overall premise. But
right,
like
right.
even though Silent Hill has a premise of like he's just trying to find his daughter, it's just he gets so lost and he learns about like the history of Silent Hill and why the town is like that and everything doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think for me, I think I like Resident Evil more because mainly because the enemy designs. They have like the tyrant, the spider, the dog, the hellhounds, but they're thrown in the narrative for a reason. Like there's a reason
yeah,
why they're like that. But in
yeah,
Silent Hill, like if you play the original Silent Hill to have like a giant worm boss or a giant moth, and they never really explain how they got there or why they're like that.
yeah.
So it's almost like you're just fighting a boss just for the sake of fighting a boss.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, but for
No,
like Resident Evil, like you have Mr. X and all those other great enemies that are in the lore, but they make sense why they're there.
yeah, I agree. I think Resident Evil also has characters that are kind of more relatable too.
Yeah,
So if you really think about it, man, think take for instance, man, the goody two shoes guy, Leon Kennedy, man.
yeah,
But he's so clean cut, but even though but they make it so relatable that everyone one has that clean cut version of themselves, if that makes
yeah,
sense. They just want to be that guy that wants to do right and help whoever they can. And then you have like Claire Redfield. I mean, she's just a sibling that just try to fend off for her family.
yeah,
So it's just I think yeah, I resonate as well more towards like Resident Evil just because of these characters. Like they're so relatable. There's some complexity to it, and but it's in a way to where like what you're saying, Silent Hill does. Silent Hill kind of makes it more out of the box, whereas Resident Evil, it's a little bit more um focused or more centralized. Let's just say that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I just love Resident Evil. I've played them all. I played the all entries. I mean, one through eight. Jesus. And there's talks about them doing what, number nine in a few
Yeah.
years.
Nine's gonna happen.
That's insane. That is
Yeah.
wow.
And
Like,
and to think the franchise has been here for almost like 30 years. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that is insane. That's our lifetime. That's my lifetime. So it's
Yeah.
just that's
Yeah.
that's it's wild to think that this 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 video game has spanned like a lifetime. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it really revolutionized like horror games. That's for sure. Even though the tank controls are somewhat seem kind of dated, but like
Right.
when they fix the controls, like on the updated ones, it's
Yeah.
like now there's really no excuse to not play it.
Yeah.
Because like I know that tank controls is like kind of what makes horror games what they are because it it's the art of like horror survival. You're trying to survive, but it's almost like a handicap of like movement because yeah, it takes some time to get used to, definitely for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that was the purpose of it. I think that's the reason why like they designed it. I know there's like a biography. I don't know if that's the right word, but I know there's a book like discussing like these details on like the design of like the enemies, the controls. It's for like to really, like you said, try to handicap you as best as they can, so they can invoke this like kind of like this like survival fear aspect into the game,
Yeah.
and it's pretty wild that they achieve that with such limited technology now, and
Yeah,
like
to think
like
about it.
yeah, the more you think about it, it's like wow, they achieved so much with so like limited constraints, like so many constraints, on that console, like that PS1. Man, if you go back now, like you take a look at those games, like Jesus, like
Yeah,
man,
they're horrible.
they look horrible,
Yeah, but
like
that's
what
part of the charm, though. That's
it is
definitely part
part
of the
of,
charm.
yeah, it's a part of the charm, but also that too is like we must have had like wild imaginations on our part
Yeah,
to make it think that these were like revolutionary graphics at the time. Like wow,
yeah.
but you look at it now and like think from a different lens, and like wait a minute, this is the stuff we grew up on. I'm like,
Yeah.
apparently so. Like, yeah, it's pretty wild,
Yeah.
but it's cool,
Yeah, I love it though. I really like going back and playing like the old stuff. Like on the background on my wall, like right over here. I got Parasite Eve, like the
Yeah,
OG poster. But
the OG poster.
I love Parasite Eve, man. Parasite Eve. And I think it was like the first horror game I played that where it didn't have back controls. It's kind of like I don't know if you ever played it before, but
Hmm.
it's very RPG like, and then it's made by Squaresoft. So after they got the Final Fantasy VII money, then they kind of just made Parasite Eve.
Yeah, yeah. I played it for a bit. I really enjoyed it. And man, it's a darn shame that I mean, who knows what Square Enix is doing now, but I wish they would bring that one back.
I
I
think so
do.
too, but I think part of it, and this is just my theory,
Yeah.
is that I think that they kind of stopped remaking Parasite Eve because the setting is in New York, and of course after 9/11 happened, I think if to them they might think that it's in bad taste to remake a game like that has like New York City falling apart. I think that's the
Right.
reason why they changed Dino Crisis 3 because Dino
Ah,
Crisis 3 was supposed to be made in the present day
right.
and like this is like early 2000s, so it's like 2001. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be set in like I don't know how familiar you are with Dino Crisis 2,
Okay.
but like the ending it happens, but it's so open-ended. And from my understanding, it was supposed to be released somewhere in 2001, and that's a little bit after 9/11 happened. So they completely changed the premise. Like Regina doesn't even there's a Dino Crisis 3 that does exist, but it's like set in the future. Has nothing to do with Regina, never ever like ends her story arc per se. But
Wow.
from my understanding, they do have they're online, they have the original artwork for Dino Crisis 3 before it was changed, and you have dinosaurs coexisting with humans in the modern age, and you have
Mhm.
the city in the background falling apart. It's just that's what it would have we would have got. But then 9/11 happened. I think Capcom thought it was in bad taste to continue with that project. That's the reason why we never got it.
Oh
Yeah, isn't
wow.
that crazy?
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, it makes sense because I think man, just going back to those times, those were like kind of sensitive, like that was kind of a real like sensitive area to touch
Yeah.
upon. So I see that. I respect it. And man, I wish now they kind of like open up and realize, okay, this is we're in a different era now. So maybe they could just say, okay, maybe we could revisit this with a new lens and just say, okay, let's look at the storyboards we had originally there and see what we can do.
Yeah.
I think now would be a good time because I think so much time has passed by,
Yeah.
and I think if they decide, I don't think most people would find it like you know offensive as they would back in like the early 2000s.
It's kind of
That
odd
yeah,
to
go ahead.
think that it's kind of odd to think though that they're like 2009/11. It's over 20 years ago. And it's just like, man, time just passed. It's like,
Yeah,
whoa.
that's another thing. Yeah, like that's happened, and like wow, it's been like you said, like but also one thing to think about. So much has happened between that and now. It's just like you kind of like grasp the thing, like try to process it. It's like wow, the
Yeah.
time we live in now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really a shame that Regina never ever got like her conclusion, like ending arc. There's nothing. Like, if you ever play Dino Crisis 2, it's like,
Yeah,
I mean, the ending is what it is, and there's never ever any discussion on what happens to her.
I think, yeah, no, I think Capcom's opening up. So like now, hear me out. I think because there been so much fan involvement about bringing back all these retro like fighting games. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard.
Oh yeah.
Like I think they're being more. They're looking at everything now and saying, oh, okay, this is what fans want from us to produce. So
Mhm.
so if the next thing is what we're asking is to bring a Dino Crisis this time, it could be a remake or it could be like what you're saying is just like give Regina her ending. Maybe I think Capcom will open up.
Yeah, and it's definitely a story that's still on the table, and it's just never ever happened.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and I don't understand how you can just leave that franchise on the shelf, knowing that, like, now that they have the technology to
Yeah,
make, like, the fact that they did Resident Evil 2 remake and just knocked it out of the park
right.
really goes to show you that if they develop it
Yeah,
in that kind of style, like, there's
yeah.
no way that it would do bad. There's no way.
Right.
Like, you
Right.
could easily write any kind of Dino Crisis premise, like the way that she ends, she goes through the portal, and
Yep.
it's up to who knows where she ends up at. And I was thinking that it's like, yo, if you really had a Dino Crisis story, and then she went to that portal, like, technically she can go anywhere. But imagine if, and this is what I was thinking, because I have like all these crazy ideas in my head.
Yeah.
What if Regina went through the portal and she ends up in the present day, but she ends up in Raccoon City? Like, if you throw her in, and now you have the dinosaurs, and then, like, in this timeline, imagine like the humans, they could not fight off the dinosaurs, so they created the T virus to eradicate the dinosaurs, and they ended up mutating. And now
Okay.
you have a premise of dinosaurs, half dinosaurs that are like mutated into these whatever. And now
Yeah.
you have like a giant, like a premise of just like, whoa, imagine like, and then they created like the tyrant, the nemesis, to help combat the dinosaurs. Like, that would be such a, like, it's How do you not make something like that? It's genius.
Right, right. No, actually, I can see it work. To be honest with you, I mean, we've seen what I know what you're alluding to is kind of like its own different universe, so to speak, or it could be like a spin-off of or like what would you call it? Dino Crisis Cross Resident Evil or something like
You could
that.
do yeah, I don't
You
even know what
know,
you would call it, but just
but
that premise on the
that
table.
premise, yeah, the Dino Crisis Raccoon City hybrid thing.
And
It could go in a wild direction, but I could see it work though.
yeah, and imagine like trying to fight off like this giant, 20-foot T-Rex, but he's like mutated. He's got like two heads or like a giant eye, or like something like that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that they can do with that.
No, no,
And
I could see that. I could see that.
you throw
Go ahead. Go ahead.
you throw in like a Jill Valentine cameo in there, like people would go crazy. There's no way that wouldn't be on the table. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be canon with, the Resident Evil. It could be its
Right.
own thing, but like
Yeah.
when she goes into the portal, like in their lore when they had time travel stuff, they never perfected the portals themselves.
Right.
So like when they go back in time, you could go back to, say, if you're trying to go to the 90s, it might be off by a decade or so. Like you might be thrown into something because they just never ever perfected the technology per se.
Right.
So she could end up anywhere.
Yeah.
It's genius.
No, no, no. It works. I do see that the Regina character. I could definitely see her fit in like the Resident Evil universe. Like she just has that look about her,
Oh yeah.
you know. And so like, and she's tough, strong, and just has those characteristics that you would see in in the Resident Evil heroes. So yeah,
Yeah.
it could work. It could definitely work. You know.
It's just genius, and I don't know why
Yeah.
that like, hey, like Japan Capcom. I'm telling you, if you want to take that premise, just take it, just
Take it,
take the
take
premise,
it.
like,
A
and someone could write
multi-million,
it.
yeah, a multi-million dollar idea on the table, free of
Yeah,
charge. You know, it just
and when I want Regina to teleport back to Raccoon City, I want her to be in an abandoned dinosaur museum. That's where I want the setting to be at. Just thrown in there, and now you just have like all these mannequins of dinosaurs and stuff in there, like dinosaurs like in a tube or something like that. Like she goes through the classic lore of the secret underground lab, and then like they're growing in the silo or the little water tank and stuff like that. There's so
yeah,
much you could do. And
yeah.
I was thinking like if you had like the ending, imagine like if you had the ending where it's like the final ending is like a T-Rex and versus like the Nemesis, but in they changed it to where you could play as the Nemesis to fight off the T-Rex.
Ah,
Like, see, now
yeah,
that is a different perspective. Like people would
yeah,
love that's like us, like when we played Metal Gear, you get to control the Metal Gear Solid tank like in four, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah. I know what you
like,
mean.
whoa, this is what we could do. Have this
Yeah.
overpowered monster fight off another giant mutated T-Rex. That premise is genius. There's no
No,
way.
no, yeah, yeah, I get it. I mean, it'd be so out of this world, but and so ridiculous, but you know, it just works. It
Yeah.
fits, you know, and that's pretty wild to think about. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
You get to
no,
control his whip. You get to use the
yeah, the whip,
bazooka.
the bazooka,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Like,
that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
yeah.
I
Like
dig it. I dig
imagine like if you get to play
it.
Resident like a Dino Crisis game, knowing
Yeah,
like how much lore of like the tyrants and the nemesis and all this stuff, but you never ever knew what it was like to be in their shoes and what it's like to be this giant colossal like Titan thing, and then
yeah,
you get to fight off another giant behemoth animal that's mutated. Like that's a genius for like the final fight and stuff
right,
as like
right.
Regina, they're trying to escape or whatever.
Yeah, I
And
get you.
then that's genius.
No, I get you. I get you. Yeah. Anything where you can control a character like Nemesis, I think it would just just mm, make money, just
And,
grow, you know.
and the thing to have like the premise of like, oh, we cannot fight off the dinosaurs. So then you throw in of like that's the reason why the T virus was invented to fight off like biological warfare, the dinosaurs, and it didn't pan out the way that they thought it would.
Yeah, no, I definitely could see how that could happen.
Yeah.
You know, because I think I can't remember it too much on the lore on why they discovered the T virus, but you know, to give it that type of reasoning there, um, yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
that I could see it work. I could see it work.
Especially if like humanity is on the brink of extinction, there's no way that they wouldn't try. Like
Yeah,
if something like that really happened, if for
yeah,
some reason dinosaurs, there was no reason why they wouldn't try it.
right,
It's like,
right.
hey, if we don't do this now, like we might not even celebrate Labor Day next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I could see it work. I could see it
yeah,
work.
it's genius.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh,
What? So let me ask you this: since we're on the topic of like Resident Evil, all right, like the ultimate debate over this has been happening, and I know we probably discussed this, but
mm,
not right now. So, out of 1 through 8, what would you say like be the most definitive like best entry, you know, in that series? And you know, what would you say will be like the top tier? Like,
Definitely two remake. It's two
do
remake.
to remake?
It's so good. Like,
Yeah,
and I get that four it has its fan base, but it's like you kind of have to think about the time when it was introduced
yeah,
and the limited, just like the limited resources they had on the PlayStation,
yeah,
like we were talking about.
yeah,
But the fact that when they remade it, they fixed the controls, they updated the graphics,
yeah,
and the fact that when you run into like certain characters, like Mr. X or whatever it is,
yeah,
they look the part. They look so good.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's they just really knock it out of the park. That's I think in my opinion, that's what sets it a lot more apart than Silent Hill. Silent Hill is definitely it has its fan base, but
yeah,
it's just the way that the enemies are designed. It's like it's such a creepy atmosphere to where like when you go in there, like you're
yeah,
fighting for your life, and then they're
right,
not they're not regular Joes. They're not average citizens. They're like trained military folks that are thrown in the situation, and now they have to survive against the unknown, and you
yeah,
feel like you're in there with them in that police station when you have to survive there,
yeah,
like you feel so like in the environment, and it's scary. It's
yeah.
one of the most geniuses. Whoever was in that boardroom, I hope that they got a raise because it's one of the best games I played in a long, long, long time. Definitely that remake though, Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, I love that game. I love that game so much. I still play it like at nauseum. Like I played and I'm talking about the main game because I haven't played like the
Yeah.
side stuff like the
Oh my
tofu
God. Yeah.
and the Fort Survivor, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I need to, but I mean I get what you're saying. Like man, like I waited so ever since I'm pretty sure this with you. OG Part 2 was the first video game I bought with my own money. So I legit bought it with my own money.
Mm.
And I saved up birthday money, all this. And you know, whoever sold it to me and sold it to me because I was a kid. I mean, shame on you, but at the same time, thank you, you know,
Yeah.
for giving me the experience. But ever since then, I always clamored for like something like what you're saying, a remake, something that's modernized with no tank controls. And that was the one thing like I really wanted was to have like a Resident Evil game just without tank controls. And that's it. I would have been happy if they would have kept everything the same.
Yeah.
But you know, of course, they added more to it. They updated like what you said. Like they did so much to that game, and props for them too. You know, I can nitpick and over some of the stuff and just say, oh, okay, you know, but I do feel like they did it justice. They like you said, they deserve their flowers. They deserve
Mhm.
like all the raises that couple that those developers could get because they saw that uh, like what I was saying about Dino Crisis is like they noticed that there was a demand for it. They realized that hey, like if we don't get this right, people are gonna get upset,
Yeah.
and they paid attention to every detail that they
Yeah.
could, and they refined it. And yeah, man, it's the dopest game I've
Yeah.
played. It
Oh,
is so legit. Oh man, like I think the first time when I walked in on the I don't know it's a big deal to a lot of people who played Resident Evil, but the first time in the remake that you walk into that the police hall, man,
Mhm.
I almost wanted to like just tear up a little bit, man.
Yeah,
I could hear my inner child just like,
yeah.
oh man,
Just get
like
to
the
see it
yeah,
again, but just like polished.
polish,
Yeah.
yeah, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And I don't know if you know this, so like so what Capcom did too to take it a step further is they release the OG sound bites or the OG soundtrack.
Hmm.
So that way you could actually play the
Hmm.
OG music into the
Yeah.
remake.
That's exactly how I did it. I changed mine to the OG because I wanted to be as close to the original as possible.
And uh, I did the same thing too right after I finished the like the original run a couple of times. And so I go back, play it again, and then dang, I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, my inner child is just like crying inside.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, they just captured it.
I
And
love those sound effects too. Like
yeah,
even when you get using the inventory
yeah,
and
the inventory sound
uh
effects, yeah, it just fits, man. And I can and props to them because it goes to show that like whoever developed that game, they just paid attention to as much detail as they can, and then try
yeah.
to fit it in that version. So it's really cool. Like there was the another scene I can't think of right now. Actually, no, I can't. The little opening eye effect, I don't know if you can remember like in the original one where the tyrant, I think it was the tyrant, he opens up his eye,
Hmm.
and they actually try to do the same thing. Actually, they do the same thing, but I think it's in a different shot or a different part of the game. But I thought that was a nice added touch to it. And there's a little bit of like added touches there, like what is it, Easter eggs
Hmm.
that they do from the that they placed into the remake,
Hmm.
that they pay homage to in the original game. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that they try to make it like a love letter to all those who follow that the game like
Yeah.
all this time, man.
Yeah.
I thought that was the coolest thing.
I think the only one I never really played was probably Resident Evil 3, like the OG, and I really want to if I
Yep.
could find a copy. I know that they did. I still got my Sega Dreamcast, and I know that they make it for the Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find a cheap copy and just play it on there. I don't have a
Yeah.
PS1 around. I don't have a PS1 anymore.
Yeah.
But if I can find it, I'll play it. I'll play it on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, no, Resident Evil 3 is kind of unique because it falls into that, oh, man, I wouldn't say like the I don't know how you would classify it, because even though they say it's a sequel, it doesn't really
No,
it
I
doesn't
mean it kind of is, but I get what you're
it's
saying.
not, yeah, it
Yeah.
is, but it's not. And there's so much like I don't know technicalities behind it. I know Capcom made a deal at the time with Sony that the only types of Resident Evil games have had to be numbered. So they were they had their hands forced into just calling it Resident Evil 3. uh
Oh, okay, okay. I get what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah. So I think that's the story behind it. I'm not sure if that's the story or that's just like a legend behind it. But they, I think Sony had their ears in all directions, and I think they noticed that Capcom was gonna make a Resident Evil game for Sega Dreamcast, in fact. And
Okay.
I think the game was not, I think the game was Code Veronica,
Hmm.
and I think that was gonna be the official sequel.
Yeah, because isn't that Claire like
Yeah,
in
that's
that one?
Claire. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
Claire and Chris. That's Claire and Chris, and it continues on from what happened in part two.
So it's like a continuation off of where two leaves
Yes,
off. Okay.
exactly. So it really kind of served as the like the unofficial sequel. I don't know how you would classify these things now because it's so it gets so confusing to me, unless you had to follow like the behind the scenes, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And I
Yeah.
never, since I never played the OG of three, I know that a lot of folks that played Remake 3, I mean, they say that a lot of things are missing on it, which I understand.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, I thought I really liked it. I mean, I didn't pay full price for it. I only paid like
Right,
five
right.
bucks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I played it right after I finished the two remake.
Yeah.
So then now there's like parts in where you play as Carlos, but
Yeah.
he's like there before certain events happen in two. So it's just like, oh, that's how that security guard gets bitten when Claire,
Right.
and it's just like, oh, now it's all coming together. It's like they
Yeah.
just missed each other just by like just like an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
part I really liked in the game, but I know that there's a lot of things in Remake 3 that are not there. I wish that certain things that were cutscenes, I really wish it was gameplay,
Yep.
which
Yep.
that's fair.
Yep.
But I can't help that I didn't like it. I still liked it. I thought it was great.
No, I played it and I like it, but not as much as obviously OG2.
Oh yeah,
You
two's good.
know, yeah, I think what happened is, and hear me out. This could be our just hear me out. I played the remake part three, and then I at that time I started on Tomb Raider. Okay, not the OG ones, but like the newer up to date
The one
versions.
that came out on the PS3 originally.
Yeah, yeah, and the
Okay.
PS3.
Okay, I
Okay,
remember.
and I paid a close attention to how what is it how Laura Croft was designed, and then all of a sudden I go back to playing OG, not OG 3, but Remake 3.
Hmm.
And I always felt that Capcom took a lot of took their premise of what they wanted for Remake Jill from that video game.
You think so?
Yeah, I do think so. I felt like they just felt like, hey, they need a heroine to be sympathetic, like she could, because Jill in that remake gets her, she just gets her butt whooped.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great though.
It's great though. No, it's great, but I also felt like, oh man, when you're playing Tomb Raider, like the more recent ones, it's like, wait a minute,
It's
like
kind of the
like
same style
the
almost in a
same
way.
style, man. It's like a little deja vu there. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, you think they might have like taken some liberties there? And I think that's what they did. And
I'm kind of wondering if maybe some of the developers are from the same, like maybe they were on the same team or something, same director or something like that, maybe.
I mean, it could happen. I know for a fact, like nowadays, like developers go from team to team now, which is
Yeah,
wild to me. Like wild to think about, because
because I think that like the very first Street Fighter, the very first one before Street Fighter 2, it's like very wonky and janky,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's extremely hard. But
right,
I think from my understanding is that the head director of the Street Fighter 1, he left Capcom and then he went to SNK. And SNK fighting games are notorious for being extremely difficult. So in a way, it kind of makes sense because like there's some of the hardest fighting games like and you play in the arcade. It's just like the AI is just it's harder than like Mortal Kombat 2. Like it's like extremely hard and it's hard to explain.
yeah,
But that kind of makes sense. It's like if he was like the director and then go to SNK and all of a sudden all these games are hard for whatever
yeah.
reason. And it's like,
No,
now I get it. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
both the Tomb Raider thing and then the Resident Evil 3 thing, that does make sense though.
Yeah, no, no, no. I can see it happening, man. And it sucks too because uh they did omit a lot. And I did play the OG3. I enjoyed it, not as much again as OG2 or Remake 2, but there were some things that I think a lot of gamers felt like they were cheated on because
Yeah.
it felt so condensed. And I think when you're playing when you're expecting the remake, you're expecting like an experience similar to what you're used to playing, and they adopted a whole lot of new things. But I like the changes though. I like what you're saying. I like the fact that I was playing more as Carlos because I felt Carlos was like such a badass character.
Yeah, yeah,
He was like so legit. Like I think he was like, well, he just, again, he's another character that's just as relatable, but at the same time, I felt like there wasn't too much attention drawn to him, and I felt like the remake just did a lot of that, and
yeah.
like, that was like, I think I can remember, if I remember correctly, yeah, that's the you get more playing time in the remake than you did in the OG one.
For
And so
Carlos.
yeah, for Carlos,
Okay.
and I like the look of it, man. He just, I mean, I just yeah, I mean, you kind of want some diversity. I mean, I don't want to, I don't know, hopefully I don't get myself in trouble for this, but you want some people that just are out there,
Hmm.
to just how would you say it? Just, I don't know, man, but you get what I'm trying to say, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
get what you're saying. Like, but for I really do like that in three though, because I was kind of confused on the timeline and how it works, and but
yeah,
then you get to see like Carlos just get there just at the police station just before Claire and Leon get there. So
yeah.
they have a spot in Resident Evil 2 in the remake where you cannot pass through the showers because that water heater is going
Right.
off of steam, and it's never explained on how it happens, and then like
Yeah,
Carlos, he can't get to the other side because the police station is blocked off. So then he like blows it up and it's like, oh, that's how it gets like that.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
that's genius. I love that though.
No, yeah. I
Oh,
think I think I it's those added touches where I actually do appreciate that they put that in there, in
yeah,
those two games, because it, like you said, in the story, on the storyline, like they hit and miss each other. There was, so like, the way it works is just like all these small things prevented Jill from actually ever meeting Claire or Leon.
yeah,
And had she stuck around, or had she, I forgot how the timeline goes, but like it could have been a unique thing where all three of them, in fact, could have, or four of them if you include Carlos, but all four of them could have teamed up, and
yeah,
that would have been a cool thing.
yeah,
It could have been like a what if Resident Evil where
yeah,
you have Claire, Leon, Carlos, and Jill,
yeah,
working as one, and that, what, I mean, that too, that's a multi-million dollar idea.
yeah.
Capcom, try to take it,
And
um
I think Capcom does that on purpose too, because like if you play one and Jill and Chris Redfield, and then you play
yeah,
two and they're not in there, it
yeah,
kind of makes you want to buy three because you want to know what happens to
yeah,
Chris, you want to know what happens to Jill, and
yeah,
then now you get attached to Claire and Leon,
yeah,
and then when you play three, they're not in there, and
yeah.
now you want to play four to figure out what happened to them. Honestly think that they do that on purpose. I think that's
No,
the reason why they
no.
do it that way.
Yeah, no, that for sure, for sure. I think they do it too because it's just like you don't want so much like um friction between all of them. I think,
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the word, but like you want the experience like exclusive to those characters, to just like one or two characters. Because if you make it more so than that, I don't know if you played part six, you know, um you notice that it just didn't work. And I think, for anyone that played part six, you know, people, looking from the outside, you would think that this would have been like the biggest, best Resident Evil ever,
mhm,
because you had the option of playing as, what is it, Chris, Leon, and who was the third guy I could think of? I can't think of his name. Ah, I think it was Albert Wesker's son, or whoever. Yeah, there you go. Which is kind of mind-boggling that he has a son, or whatnot.
mhm.
But you had the option of like picking three characters, and following their storyline, but it just didn't mesh well. It was like the weaker entry uh so bad. It was like one of the weakest entries in the series, and it was so bad that when they were thinking about Resident Evil 7, they had to not reboot everything, but repackage everything into like the
Mhm.
first person thing. And they had to go back to like, okay,
The
let's make it,
roots.
yeah, the
Yeah.
roots, and like make it scary again.
Yeah. And that's where when they really start to shine because it's like
Yeah, yeah,
something about horror games. If the horror game isn't as scary as it could be,
yeah,
for some reason it just doesn't make a lasting impression in my
yeah,
opinion. But there's something about like when it's super like those old school PlayStation games, those horror games when it's like when you play Resident Evil, like when I played the OG, the director's cut,
yeah,
or even like the remake, I
yeah,
never ever thought that it would be in a mansion and there's just silence.
yeah.
It's completely silent. There's nothing, there's no sounds or anything. And something about that for some reason it always made a lasting impression for me. Like it might have not been like, oh, that's cool or it's weird. It's just that's just it what's attached to it for some reason for me. It always sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, and it's always those experiences, those little touches that like you can always remember, and it just like stays in the back of your mind like forever, and you always, and it comes back to like what we're having right now. And it goes to show you like how great of a game that is, that it can have a lasting impact on you, and you don't even need to pick up the controller for you to,
Yeah.
to bring it up. You could just always talk about it, and that's pretty wild to me. And I think that's why I love Resident Evil. It's just one of those things where you could have a conversational piece about it, like with anyone,
Yeah.
and you don't even have to pick up the controller. Just
Uh
you
yeah,
know,
Resident Evil, it's just too good.
yeah, it's just too
Like
good,
I
man.
don't know what it is
It's
about it. And I
it's
never
it,
played it like a lot as a kid. Like
yeah,
every time when I went to the video store, it was always checked out. So I never got to play Resident Evil 2 like like that. Either
gotcha.
that or like the disc was completely scratched up from the rental place, so would never
Yeah,
play. Or
yikes.
like I never really got
Yeah,
my hands on it until like recently. Then when I started playing them, I was like, now I get why they like it. But I
yeah.
even went back to play the OGs later on, and then it's just like, damn, this thing is actually really good.
Yeah, I know, man. It's the best, man. It's
Yeah,
the best. I can't wait for what they do next. It's just like I'm always excited. Like it's one of those things where I just find myself playing again, like
yeah,
again, and I could pick up, depending on the mood. I always feel like it's a different entry that I'll play.
yeah.
Um, you know, um, Sorry about
The
that.
the Dino Crisis Resident Evil. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Dude,
Yeah.
you could put Regina with Hunk. You could put it
There
with
you
and it will work.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Hunk is a dope character, and he never really gets that kind of shine like that.
Yeah,
But like when you get to play as him in the remake, like they have like a in the bonus
yeah,
content, you get to play. It's like, damn, that's so cool.
yeah. I
Yeah,
I I don't know if you ever I think you've seen the gameplay on how he was created. I love the cutscene in the OG too, where um for spoilers, William, he's already mutated and he's in the sewers.
yeah,
And there's legit four characters, like four umbrella soldiers. And I love how they panned out each and every one's deaths as if he actually got to every single one of them
yeah,
except for one.
yeah,
You had to pay attention to that detail when you were playing that game, and it had to for it to click together and figure out that, oh wow, he didn't get all of them.
yeah,
Like one of them did survive.
yeah. The
you
Forgotten
know
Soldier.
the Forgotten Soldier, yeah. And it
Yes.
was wild to me, like that was like such a nice touch that they included, and it doesn't seem like a big deal to like most people outside, but like for like people who played it, it's like that is the most cleverish thing that
I
you could
love it.
you could get.
I the reason why I love it is because now you get a different perspective.
You
like
get a different perspective.
the
Yeah,
events are happening like
yeah,
with the secret lab, or like
yeah,
whether it's the guy that abducted that dude's daughter, that cop dude, the dirty cop guy that kidnaps Sherry, I think her name
yeah, yeah,
is.
yeah,
He has like a little bonus, that girl that's laying on the table,
yeah,
that like it has her perspective, even though she's not tied in with the lore of like what's canon, what's considered canon, like, but
yeah,
the events still do happen and you see her perspective. I like that so much. Like,
yeah,
even though it's really not a whole lot, it's
yeah,
like, or like the store owner, the guy
yeah,
that has a store owner, you get to
yeah.
do his little side thing, but now you see how things pan. And then in Resident Evil 3, like he isn't like, I don't who's it? Did he run into Leon in RE2? Like the gun store owner. I
No,
think
he runs into yeah, he runs
Leon,
into
well, I think it's Leon, and he doesn't like him, or like they don't get along all that
they don't
well.
get along. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they
and
don't
then
get along.
when we play the remake in RE3, he meets Jill and they're like buddy buddy. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
like, oh, I just met you. That was so
Yeah,
cool. Like,
yeah,
yeah, that part I really like though. It's just like, and he's like, hey, how are things with you and your family? And then like, how things pan out for him, and it's just like,
yeah.
wow, damn, that's like, because you see everything. So
Right.
like, everyone's backstory.
Yeah,
It's such
no,
genius. See, in my opinion, and that's the reason why I like Resi. I really hate to compare it to
no,
Silent
no,
Hill.
no, no,
It's its
no.
own thing, but it's like, damn, it's just like you need that. It's so genius when it pans out the way it's supposed to.
No, yeah, exactly. And it goes back to what I said too, because I like the fact that you brought up those characters, and I didn't think about this either. Is even those two, even those little small characters, those little touches, it's like you can even relate to them. Like the cop you said, like again, he just had some bad luck,
Yeah,
and that could be any one of us. And it's like he's trying his heart out to like and I'm talking about the good cop, like not the crooked chief,
yeah.
but he just had some bad luck, in helping people, that he just got himself bit, and that could be any one of us,
Hmm.
so to speak. And it just goes to show how like the level of detail, like all these story arcs of these characters. And you can find someone relatable, man, and find some attachment to it. So it's just, yeah, I mean to me, I know most people have this tribalism between, like you said, uh Resident Evil and Silent Hill, but for me, it's always gonna be like Resident Evil all the way. It's
So
just
good.
it's just so
Yeah.
good.
And
Yeah,
I'm not knocking on anyone that likes Silent Hill. Not
yeah,
at
no, no,
all.
no, me neither, me neither.
But like,
Yeah,
what I'm saying is like, when I played Silent Hill, it was like one of the most confusing things. And
yeah,
I've never really been too much of a psychological horror guy.
yeah,
It's like the reason why, like, if it's, and this is my opinion, is like when psychological horror gets into like people's heads,
yeah,
and then they kind of get to that point to where they don't know if what's happening is actually real, or
yeah,
if it's in their head, or if it's
yeah,
crazy. Because then
yeah.
now, I feel like I have to like YouTube like what exactly did happen during this plot.
Right.
It makes it a lot more harder for me to like
Yeah,
interpret what happens and why it happens that way.
yeah,
And then like, if you play Silent Hill 1, like the ending, when you get the good ending, I don't know if a lot of people remember, but I'm not really gonna explain it all that well, but it just doesn't make sense on why it happens. And then when you play
right.
Silent Hill 2, thinking that there's gonna be a continuation or some kind of answer, like the character is different. It's like an anthology in a way, where
Yeah,
like it's not about the characters, it's more about Silent Hill as a setting, like what
yeah,
happens in Silent Hill. And then now you get this person who's looking for, his wife. That's the premise of that story. But then when
right.
you play Silent Hill 3, it has nothing to do with like 2 in a way, if that makes sense.
No, no, no,
But
I get it.
but the reason why, like with Silent or Resident Evil, even though you don't play the same characters, you still get their perspective, and they may not meet like in each game,
Yeah,
but whatever happened to that character, you kind of get their side of the story, and then you're like, wow, they were just there, and I just missed them. Like that's what I always find fascinating.
yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. I get you. Silent Hill for me, it's enjoyable, but I think it's just for me, it's just too much out of the box thinking
Well,
for some of the things that I had to like do.
yeah,
And so I think for me, without having to resort to a strategy guide, I quickly just found myself not yeah, I ended up finding myself turned off from it, and it sucks. And I think maybe one day I'll probably think about like playing those games again
yeah.
and
It's
seeing
hard
if
though.
yeah, it is hard.
It's
No,
hard. It's
yeah,
hard.
and
Yeah,
yeah, maybe I'll have a different opinion on it,
yeah.
but
I
for go
it's
ahead.
just it's just for I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's just for me, it's just Resident Evil. It's just the way that the enemies are designed.
Yeah,
Like they're so iconic. It doesn't matter what kind of enemy you think about. They're
yeah,
just like Mr. X, the tyrant, the
yeah,
spider, the
yeah,
dogs. They're just so
yeah,
memorable. But in
yeah,
Silent Hill, they're kind of like I mean, it kind of has like a little bit truth to their lore, but like the nurses are really cool, like
yeah.
the way that they look, but you don't understand the reason why that they're like that. Or like
Right.
the mid bosses, like I was saying with the worm, the
Yeah,
butterfly. It's
yeah.
kind of just like they're just there,
They're
just to
just
be there.
there.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite let me ask you this. Who's your favorite baddie, like bad villain from the series from Resident Evil?
I think it's probably Mr. X. I think he
The
made such a lasting
hat.
impression on me. Oh yeah. I was like, when you like shoot the hat off and he just walks past
Yeah.
it. I'm like, what? No way. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a neat touch
Yeah.
when you first discover it. Is like, oh, you like I never would have thought that like shooting the head off would set him off so much that
Yeah.
he's facing more. Like
Yeah.
he's moving faster. I'm thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, what did I just do?
Yeah.
It's wild to me. Like,
Definitely the Nemesis is up there too. I would say Nemesis is up there.
yeah, the Nemesis is up there. I think he has his charm. I think he's more menacing. Actually, no, I'll take that back. I think, well, man, that's a good question. Who would be more menacing, the Mr. X or Nemesis? I think I think it's a tie, but I enjoyed the experience with Mr. X a little bit more.
Me too.
Just the way he moved
Yeah.
for me, like the way he was pacing.
And that giant trench coat he
The
had.
giant trench coat.
Yeah,
I was
it looks
like,
so cool. The
yeah,
hat. Even though I don't know who would have thought that, like, hey, we got to make a hat this size. It's not like a normal size hat. I'm pretty sure his hat's like a size 9 or something. And it's like, yeah,
yeah,
he has to have a hat before he leaves the lab.
exactly.
But the
Yeah,
Nemesis is dope too. I love the Nemesis because it's just like when I was playing RE3, I wasn't sure like what to expect.
yeah,
But then it's just like you beat the Nemesis and it's just like,
yeah.
ah, finally he's gone. And then for some reason he keeps coming back. It's like, what? You're back again? How are you back?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's so good though. Like
yeah.
because then you play throughout the game and you're like, when's the next time the Nemesis is gonna come back? Because I know he's coming back.
No, no,
It's
no.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no. Yeah, I think the way they presented the Nemesis, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like
yeah.
he just comes back at you. You could shoot as much as you can, and he's just like
He pulls out a bazooka. He's
bazooka
like,
at
what?
you. I'm like,
What?
what? Where did that come from? I'm thinking to
Uh,
myself, it's like, wait, what?
yeah.
That's wild.
Imagine him against a T-Rex though.
There you go. Imagine him with the T-Rex,
Yeah,
the battle of the century right
yeah.
there,
You know, I was looking up I was looking up like original like OG posters and stuff like that.
Sure.
An original OG one of Resident Evil 3. So like they call it the Nemesis here, but
Yeah.
in Japan they call it the Last Escape.
Okay.
But like an original OG poster from like 96 and they're about like 20 by 30. That's how big their promotional posters are.
Yeah.
Cost 900 dollars for an original OG one. But
That's wild.
it's got the Nemesis on there and it's got Jill like in the corner. Like
Yeah.
it's a dope poster, but damn, 900. It's like, damn, that is crazy.
It-
That's like as much as like Silent Hill 2, the OG one. And I'm talking about when I say OG, I mean like when it was
yeah.
being promoted in the store, like it was hanging up in the store like during that time. and
I
somehow it survived. There's only one guy that has, he only, there's the only one that I've seen, only one. That's the only
no,
one I
I,
saw.
I believe it. You know, that's a man, those games at that time of the year, like I think more people are discovering the fascination behind these games, especially in the 90s, man, where like stuff like this was like huge to us. Whereas people on the outside didn't understand like the scope of like the Resident Evils
Yeah,
and Parasite's Eves and
yeah.
whatnot. And so like, you know, these collectors who have them preserving it, man, bravos to them. Because I mean,
How,
yeah,
like
how first
how
off,
do you keep it
how do you keep it? First off, how do you keep it
for that long?
for that long and intact? That's the one thing. You know, but I mean, to have it, you know, available to sell, you know, at that price, I mean, I kind of get it, man.
I wouldn't sell it for cheap either. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I
No
wouldn't
way.
either. No way, man. Because
Because like,
they,
damn, like when you think about it, like sealed games, like the market for sealed game is still the roof. Like if you're trying to be an
yeah,
investor and trying to get into sealed games right now, like
yeah,
you're not gonna make anything. Like you're gonna go broke by doing so. But
yeah.
like something about promotional posters, they were never meant to be sold to the public.
No, no,
And
no.
it's more of like, how did you even acquire this? Where did you get it? And how did you store it?
Yeah,
And for people who don't know this, it's like, of course, they make reprints of posters, and then you could just buy a cheap printed one.
right,
But how do you tell the difference? So like on the bottom corners, they'll have a year on when the poster was made, and then
right.
you just do your research on when did this game come out? Because they might have like a release date of the game in Japan, be
Yeah,
like August 3rd of 96 or whatever it was, and it will say that on the poster, so all the dates and stuff will match. So if they do reissues of the same poster, they'll say 1996 and then they'll say 2024. So it'd be like
mm,
when it was reprinted again. But
yeah.
like that kind of information you're really looking for. And most of the time in Japan, they go by B2, which means a 20 by 30, like
Okay.
around like a 20 by 30 or 20 by 29 or something like that. They're usually always the same size.
Mm.
But it's so dope. It's like, damn, how did he get this? And just think of all the history that that poster
Yeah,
has seen over the years, the downfall of like video games and video stores and video rental stores and VHS tapes and stuff. And it's just like it saw all this history just pass by it.
exactly.
It's fascinating.
No, it is fascinating. I think people understand the scope of that thing and then realize that, oh, okay, there's some money to be had if I uh, keep it intact. And
Yeah,
you know, when they're ready, they just sell it off. And you know, there's a demand, and
there is.
what where there's a market, there's always going to be a demand. And you know, more power to them is just something I'm not willing to touch because you,
It's definitely like a hard. If it was like maybe if it was like 100 or 150 or something, then
yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
But 900, that is a lot. Like, but he's the
yeah.
only guy that has it. He's the only guy
No,
that has it
and
that
I
owns.
believe it. I believe it. I think there's many others that probably have the same poster, but I mean, because there's in very few instances there's like a one of one, you know.
Yeah.
And so who knows, like if you run across to your like next flea market, swap meet, or Comic Con, or wherever, that you know, the chances of, you know, are there that to have like a vendor that sells off all these promotional, you know, posters and whatnot. You know, there's always gonna be there. It's just I guess what I think losing it's just it just takes its time. It takes its course. You know, you
Yeah.
just, you know, um, I think one time I what was it? And this wasn't a promotional piece, but it was more on the collector side. There was a what was it? I think it was a Mew card. It was one of like there's still plenty around, but I remember like the Mew promotional
Yeah.
cards that
From
I
the
wanted
theater.
from the theater. Man,
Yeah.
were so cheap back in the day.
Yeah, I remember because like
And
when you go to the theater, they would give you a card and it was like Mew and he was like the ancient
the
hieroglyphic.
ancient, yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
hieroglyphic. And
yeah.
nowadays, man, that I think it hasn't risen in price as much, but I'm thinking like, wow, it's just that fascination. It's just that market for stuff like that that
Yeah.
people are discovering, and people are saying that, oh, okay, maybe I can make a book or two if I wanted
And
to,
now here's some things that people haven't thought about is like imagine getting an original promo poster from Japan of the Pokemon first movie.
Oh my goodness.
See,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I know that they're out there and I know they're not over $100 for it. And it's
You're
still
right.
sitting there.
No, you're right. You're right. It's still sitting there.
And I it's just people just haven't thought of it.
No, no, no. And I think once they realize it, I think once people have their minds open to that, then they discover that, oh, because Pokemon is just like one of those things, just like Resident Evil, where like, oh man, this thing is big. This is bigger than,
Yeah.
then they'll start having their light bulbs again. It's like, okay, let's start looking this stuff up. Let's see if I can sell it, make a book or two,
Yeah. Yeah, Pokemon is huge and it just went through generations and generations. Like there's people that are like in kindergarten, they still know who Pikachu is.
That is wild, and
Yeah,
I can't. It just bogs my mind too. It's just one of those things. Like now, again, it's spanning like a lifetime,
yeah,
so to speak. That this thing is just remaining huge. That's another thing that you could speak about. And it's like,
yeah,
wow, like this for a lot of people, this started when I was legitimately born,
yeah.
and it's just as popular as
Now than
it is
ever.
now than ever
Yeah.
now that I'm an adult. It's like,
And
wow.
to think that Marvel and DC is huge and it's
Yeah.
big in the United States, but like Pokemon is like global.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
global thing.
global thing. There's people on like 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 Pakistan that know Pokemon. They're like crazy about Pokemon cards. There's people in like Yemen that are crazy for Pokemon. It's just like such a global thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's just one of those things that, I'm thinking in the next few years, like who knows how big it's gonna be from here on out. Like I think it's just gonna catapult like even further.
Yeah,
Like that's just me. And we'll see what happens, but I
for
think I
sure.
think
For sure.
I think it'll continue to grow.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we're about an hour. So we're about an hour in. Is there anything else that you wanted to promotion or promos plug in
Oh
before we
no,
wrap up?
no, 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 no. This was fun. Just find me, um right now I'm currently on just Twitch, just streaming from here on out. Like I don't do it on the daily, although I do try to, but
Yeah.
it's Twitch on Too Many Gaming. There's
Yeah.
a YouTube channel. I do a little bit of like YouTube here and there. Haven't been
Yeah.
active lately, but
Yeah. Unboxing stuff.
yeah, unboxing stuff and
Yeah.
doing some pickups. I'm on the collecting side of video games. Not so much nowadays, but who knows? I could pick that up. But yeah, I'm there on Twitch and social media. Just look me up, Too Many Gaming, and
Two Manny. Two
yeah,
Manny and then gaming. All one
yeah,
word.
all one word. Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
all my socials.
I still want to see you do the tofu run. I gotta see
Oh
it.
yeah, no, no, man, for sure, for sure. I think what I'll do is like if I get create enough demand for it, like yeah, for sure, I'll give it a shot. You know, but yeah,
Uh,
but right now on Twitch, I'm just currently like sticking to like the mainline Resident Evil games.
yeah,
I'm wrapping up the OG2, which I'm having a lot of fun doing. But yeah, maybe one of those days I'll actually do the tofu run, man.
for sure, for sure.
For sure.
All right, guys, this is the last night to Majigen. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Okay, do that the camera. So see ya
Peace.
later.
Peace.
Bye.
Later.
I think they're learning how to fly. Fly? Yeah. Fly. Fly. Get the flame springing from the mirror and leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's covered by the woods of fires. The gas tanks, the automobiles spreading everywhere. Coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.